I really should put those two intro videos together in an editing thing so we don't get that cut in the middle.
Yes.
Hi, welcome back to Crypto Talks. My name is Phil. That's Rob, and I pointed the right way this time. And
Well done, you. Big brain. It's only
yes,
taken. Is this? Are we on? I think this is this 100 videos. This must be pretty close to 100 videos.
is it?
Yeah.
Could it be? Is this number 100? No, I don't think it's 100.
No,
already,
it must be pretty close. Like very close.
Very close. Oh, we'll have
100
somebody.
It says 100 videos. This is our 100th video.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah.
Dang. All right.
And we are still stuck on 103 subscribers, so please come on, keep our subscriber count above our video count. Like, let's not be embarrassing here.
Yeah, it's okay. We've discussed this, and this might be some news to people, but we're pivoting a little bit for the time being. So we're going to focus more on growing on Twitter, because that's genuinely the best place to get a back and forth conversation where we can actually show people that we know what we're doing. And over time, once that gets bigger and bigger, and we grow on TikTok as well, because that's the quick and easy video thing, and then we'll funnel them all over to the Discord, and then we'll start ramping up this YouTube thing as well, so that will grow out of that the rest of the community that we built. So we'll see how it goes, but we're still going to do TA Monday. We'll do the TA thing, and we'll probably try to discuss some small things, which we are going to do today. We are going to talk about some Ethereum things for once, because finally Ethereum did a thing. Yay. It's not sleeping anymore, and so we're going to talk about that a little bit and see where that might lead us in the future. And I just realized I don't have the comments section open yet. There we go. Oh, there we go. Yes, we do have some questions coming in already, so I'm going to star some of these as we're doing this. And then I'm going to just keep posting your questions, guys, and we'll get to them towards the end, hopefully. So stick around, and we'll go through everything that we've starred and saved.
For sure.
Oh, show. So we're going to start... Yeah, we're going to start looking at Bitcoin as we always do. We're going to start with kind of the range that we're currently in, and then we'll move over to Ethereum. No Solana today, unless you guys really want it.
It's not doing anything too fun.
Yeah, it's not really doing anything. It's always better to focus on the thing. Yeah, it's better to focus on the stuff that actually has the momentum, because that's going to bring everything else along. And so today it's Bitcoin and Ethereum. So we're starting here with Bitcoin, and that is a very ugly... I don't know why I did that line. I must have done it when I was bored or something.
Go home while you're drunk.
yeah, exactly. But yes, we do have Bitcoin, and this is the range that we've been in for, it's so long now.
Forever. Since Bitcoin began, it's been $70,000 plus minus.
Basically since the beginning of March, we've sat in this range here, which we've talked about before. You guys are all familiar with it, obviously. And we've seen the peak, we've seen the bottom on the fib level right down here, and now we're seeing us coming back towards the peak again. And it's kind of playing out the way that you would expect. I mean, just pulling a horizontal ray from like around here somewhere, we got some peaks here, we got candle close, and then we got stopped there for a minute. And it makes sense. I think that's most of you guys have probably done that type of TA already, because we've been teaching y'all in Discord, and so no news there. However, we have seen I think last week we talked about the super trend going green, and we're expecting that to hold. And something that we saw as well was this: we fought the double top here. I think we talked about that last week, or I did. Were you here last week, Rob?
No, I wasn't.
You were?
I wasn't.
Okay, yeah, right. So I was solo. So basically, we had this double top here, just inside of the golden pocket on the fib that we pulled from the peak to the bottom here, and we were expecting to see some type of resistance there. We saw fib resistance right here. We saw support right here. We saw minor support there, and then we had some resistances, but then we broke through pretty hard, and then it kind of just ignored the 786, which is not really a strong fib level, to be fair. It doesn't really care that much because it's so close to getting back to the peak, so it doesn't really play on that psychological barrier so much. But we did bounce here perfectly in the golden pocket, which is kind of upside down, because this fib just looks at what we have going upwards, and this is why I want to remove this now, and I want to pull it from the bottom to the peak just to see if there's support, and it's kind of not really played on it. It closed the candles on there, which is fair, but it's not really playing these fibs here. I suppose you could call it something like that, but Bitcoin is kind of just, it's looking weird because of Ethereum, I think, right? Because Ethereum during this candle had a massive pump, and we'll get to that. But, you know, Bitcoin moved us up, and then Ethereum just kind of boosted us. And so Bitcoin didn't really hit any of the levels that you would expect, I would say, at least not on the daily. And so, yeah, Bitcoin's TA right here, I'm not sure, I don't know what you think, Rob, but I feel like the Bitcoin TA, I don't think Bitcoin's movements in price is what really moves the markets or the sentiment in the market right now. I feel like ETH has more of an impact right now because of the ETF announcement.
I would say so. I would say that it does anyway, because
yeah, in a bit, you know.
Yeah, say overall, we have seen, or I've started to see, definitely some sort of much more detachment in the overall market versus just Bitcoin. And we see this at times, where everything moves up exactly the same. Particularly, we see this in bear markets where nobody's really involved, and the only actual real price action is just bots that are moving the price up and down alongside stocks and everything else that just moves up and down. So everything moves together. During a bull market, you start to see a lot of that detach. You'll start to see a day when everything drops 10%, and you'll see 3 or 4 coins that are up 10, 15%. And often you look at the charts of those and you go, oh shit, everything else is in a short to medium term downtrend, and this is just still in an uptrend. And what happens? It just carries on in an uptrend. It just does what it's going to do, and doesn't mind what the rest of the market's telling it that it should do. And ultimately, eventually, everything snaps back. And right now, I said we're not talking so much about Solana today because it's boring. Why is it boring? Well, because it had a stupidly good run. It ran up above $200, and maybe it just needs a few months to cool down and not be the center of attention. And a perfect opportunity for that is ETH actually doing something. And right now, if you are somebody who is a general crypto investor, chances are that if you were someone that was like, okay, Bitcoin's 50% of my portfolio, Ethereum is 20%, Solana is 10%, shitcoins are 20%. Depending on how often you reallocate your portfolio, you're probably pretty underweight in ETH percentage-wise. So if during this drop you looked at it and took that decision and went, okay, Bitcoin ETF's launched, ETH upgrade happened, buy the rumor, sell the news, it dropped below to $2,500 or so. I'm kind of done with Solana for a bit. ETH's probably got the better narrative, and I will, I don't want to say I said it, but I've been saying it for a while. Bitcoin's gonna move, and then you will start to see the narrative shift towards Ethereum because of the ETF. The ETF will be the catalyst, but overall the cause is because crypto markets don't change. They do the same thing every time, and after Bitcoin comes Ethereum. And yes, alongside that, the consensus chains, the winning formula for this cycle will pump no matter what. Every time things pump, they'll move. I'm expecting Solana to basically be like that. I'm looking at other coins, things like Render, the ones that we push, the ones that we like, the ones that we say we're invested in ourselves. They're not always going to move, but overall, we're going to see them move more often than not, and that's what we're looking for. I'm expecting ETH to make a serious move because it hasn't made a serious move for a hell of a long time, and it's about bloody time it does. That's just how the market works.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
as you know, as much as as much as Ethereum is obviously losing out in terms of the everyday degen trader onto Solana, it's still doing the job it's done for several years, and for a lot of people, that's still a perfectly serviceable job. I will say my biggest chain in terms of where my money is actually held is, well, it's on Polygon, but essentially it's on ETH, because I have a chunk of my stuff on Aave. It's not in Ethereum, but I'm still using that network, and that brings that network value. And so don't sleep on that, is all.
Yeah, no, I think there's now we're kind of pivoting into ETH already, but that's fine, because generally, just really quick before I say what I wanted to say about ETH here, this pattern that we're currently in, this is a massive bull flag basically, but it's a bit too long though. But essentially, up bull flag. So, what's that called again in English? I'm Swedish, guys, if you didn't know.
Pole.
Yes, the flag pole, and then the flag. And then after that, it tends to break upwards like it did kind of here. That's an ugly one, but essentially the same thing. And now we've moved into the super trend is green again on the daily. And I think I mentioned this last week as well, because it had just flipped, I believe. Yeah, that was the Monday. That was the big green candle there. And I said, yeah, it's flipped now. And I believe that, the last time we did flip into the green during the bull market, right, we did this move right here. And so again, I don't put much emphasis on the strength of the super trend, but it holds up in the longer time frames for me. On the daily specifically is really good.
And it's all the way down at 62,400. We could come all the way down to 64 and it not be a worry. That's so. Again, we might not be ready for a break. We really might not be. It might be. Don't get me wrong. It may, but even here, we can drop and stay within this range for a while longer before we break out significantly.
Precisely. I mean, looking at the weekly right here, that's a pretty bearish week. And it's not a bearish weekly candle the last week. But it does have that topping wick. But the fact that we're actually moving green anyway, that's just a candle. It's not much of an indicator, but still, that's something. But what I'm looking at,
could you just flip back to the weekly? There is the thing that is worth noting is look how big those lower wicks are, week after week after week. And so, what is that showing you? That's showing straight away is that even throughout all of this downtrend, the pattern has been the same. We open at a certain price. What do we do during the week? We flush it, and then it melts up back and closes the weekend. Trade sideways for the weekend. Next week, flush it, up back we go. And they've done this week after week, flushed what they can do, and now we've had 3 green weeks. And it may be that literally they go and say, I'm going to keep saying the things that keep coming true. The easiest way to dump it is to pump it first. Don't forget that is they want you now looking at 70k. It's really quickly come from a low of what did we hit as a low? Was it 50? It's like 56.
56.8.
Yeah. So from a low of 56, we're now at 70 again within a month.
It's
so within one buy, you had 1 week to really catch that low, and most people missed it. The vast majority 23%. Did. And then so maybe they got in a buy at 61 or 62, and now it's at 70, and they're going, oh shit, do I buy here? And the market wants those hesitant buyers. They want people to keep the money aside, let us grind up, then we send it. And when we send it, those people who are sat on the fence, that's when they buy and that's when they sell.
And I mean, looking at the longer term stuff here, I mean, now that we're already on the weekly, obviously, we held this range, and it's like you said, I think I talked about this 2 weeks ago or a week ago or something, that we had all these bottom wicks. And what this means now is that now that we're holding this range and we're getting all these wicks, this is currently exactly what it sounds like. It's people are valuing Bitcoin at this value. This is fair value at the moment. Everything above this is overpriced, right? Until they pump it and start moving sideways somewhere else, just like they did here, right? This is fair value, and then boom, now this is fair value. And so, eventually we're going to turn back around and come down. Let's say we pump all the way to 250 or whatever. And then eventually people are going to say, you know what? Fair value during a bear trend, Bitcoin might stop at 100 again, right? That's completely irrational thinking in my book. But for now, what we're looking for is, first of all, obviously breaking the all-time high right here, which is very close. I think it's only a couple of percent, like 10, not even that, 5.6%. Bitcoin can do that in a day without even breaking a sweat. Yeah, an hour. So definitely we're so close to this right now. I feel like we had a decent bounce on the ETF announcement for ETH right here. Came back down to test that range and started to move up again. So it's like, okay, 4 hourly, I think we're seeing, yeah, I saw this before we started. We just broke green again on the 4 hourly, so that means it wants to kind of come back up. Bollinger Bands are turning back up to bullish. And so, yeah, I'm not making promises, but it's looking pretty good, and it's still holding this very short-term trend line right here. But so
just maybe want to flip over. Oh, actually, I just turned my screen off. I was actually sharing it, and then
nice.
Maybe flip to my screen just to elaborate just on what you talked about here. A good way to visualize this is the realized price, so the realized cap, and essentially, yeah, for those that don't know, this is for all of the existing 19 point whatever million Bitcoin in circulation. It is the price at which those Bitcoin first moved. So if you made the transaction 2 years ago and the price was at $17,000 and that's sat in your wallet ever since, then that Bitcoin has a realized price of $17,000. And so as the Bitcoin moves through the ecosystem, this provides a way of showing at what price that Bitcoin moved. And so what you were describing there in terms of, yeah, all of those people buying those wicks, those people will be majority of traders who sold Bitcoin they bought below, say, 30,000. Some of them probably below 10,000 will have offloaded their Bitcoin, and they will be replaced by new people that now have a cost basis much higher at 70,000. And of course, you still have a lot of holders from back in the early days when Bitcoin was pennies or a couple of dollars, and so they are always going to hold down the realized price. But in every bull market, as you see during the bull market, the realized cap starts to slowly accelerate up as the velocity of Bitcoin moves and as the price moves. And we've not really started to see that yet. And so, it is a sign there isn't that euphoria coming into the market yet whereby people are just transferring and buying Bitcoin at any price.
Yeah.
But this is a short-term example of that, whereby now there's a whole lot of people that have really got an incentive for Bitcoin not to drop below $60,000 again.
Right.
And who will be buyers at that price. And so during bull markets, we look for these ranges to hold.
Yeah. And I do want to mention another thing. The thing that I was also kind of looking at during this, and it's actually thanks to James at Invest Answers, because he talked about this too a lot. So this is the short-term holder realized price, and I'm gonna zoom this in. Oh gosh, that gets ugly fast. Oh gosh, why is it so horrible to zoom in on this? That's horrible. Wonder if I can do that. There we go. Okay, so black Bitcoin price, the red or whatever is the short-term holder realized price. It's the same type of thing, and you can see how it bounced exactly on that line right there. Can you see that? It's too small, but you should be able to see that. This was a big bounce for me when I saw this happen. That was during that 56.8k bounce on the fib, and both of them hit at the same time. And yeah, this is a nice one. It's never it basically during the exponential trend, it never breaks this the short-term holder realized price. It almost never does. It's done it over here, but this is not the exponential bull market. This is just the pre-bull right here, and then we got into the exponential.
And even so, when it does drop below these prices, these are buy signals. These are the periods where you go, oh, okay, right. The people who have bought recently are now in a loss. That means Bitcoin's probably cheap, because people have been prepared in the very recent history to buy it at a more expensive price.
Right,
and
exactly.
Generally, that doesn't happen for long in an asset that people generally want to buy and hold forever.
Yeah, there is an on-chain metric that will tell you how many coins are currently in profit, and obviously we're really close to all-time highs. So there's going to be a really small percentage now that are in a loss overall. I don't want to sit here and scroll through everything that's Shane exposed just to get to that chart, but essentially that's what it is. And as soon as we get into a new all-time high, that means everybody is in profit, right? Which means, okay, now there's a big chance that at least some people will take profits. But okay, let's move along from Bitcoin. I feel like we've done enough here. Actually, once we break the all-time high, this trend line right here is the one that goes through the entire from the basically this moment in time last cycle. We had a bounce, more bounces, big break into bear market, and now we've hit it, and we want to try to get past that. Once we get past that, 100k is definitely the next target in my book. And that's simplifying it, but yeah. I mean, test, that's what I'm kind of looking for. Simplified, obviously, but you get the point. So we'll see.
That would be nice. That'd be very nice.
It would be nice, because we do want to, once we break up here and kind of start fighting this, if we fight this, we will want to come back down and test the previous all-time high. Probably if it fights this, it might want to come down and bounce and then break it. And that's just what I'm expecting. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm kind of expecting some sort of fight right there and some kind of support right there. So we'll see what happens. But again, we need to break it first. RSI has ways to move still. You guys remember, I think we talked about this last round. I mean, we broke we broke green in or oversold on the RSI on the daily all the way back here, and then it did all this when it was still green. So breaking into green here doesn't necessarily mean, oh, it's over. No, it can go. It can definitely go.
It can go. Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's see. Ether. Yes. So this is a nice one. Finally, I was kind of making fun of ETH a little bit versus Solana, because Solana broke out of, I'll just open it real fast. It had this downtrend that looked something like this, and then it broke it, and ETH was still stuck, and Solana kept moving up, and then spot ETF, boom, massive candle and very bullish. So ETH has definitely broken out of any type of resistance that it has. It's very close to all-time highs, and yeah, I'm having trouble giving
you're having trouble giving it shit.
There we go. Now I was going to give it a target, some type of target. And so you can see ETH as well held this range as expected in the fib levels. But in terms of, I want to see how this lines up above this, because if we do the classic that we did way back when, if you remember, if you were watching us ages ago, you pull it from peak to bottom and you extend it, and then you get some type of target. Obviously this lines up because that's where it is, but the next fib level target for ETH would be 14.1. Now I have a hard time seeing that personally, but the trend line is there.
My rough target, my completely arbitrary but very sensible target is about 12k. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm thinking 10 to 12. 14 sounds reasonable. Yeah, I think that's about fine, and then it's probably going to come back down to 4-ish. So yeah,
you know,
something like that.
here's the thing with ETH for me. I have a hard time seeing the market cap going so high that it can reach 14k. Because currently it's $400 billion at 4k, and doubling that, you're almost at $1 trillion, and that puts you at 8k. And ETH might have an ETF, right? And that's all great. However, the difference between Bitcoin and ETH is that ETH has competitors and Bitcoin does not, right?
Yeah.
And so even and the thing with the competitors for ETH is that they are better. It's not just Solana in our book. I mean, even Avalanche is kind of better in terms of for the user. However, I did want to mention this about ETH because you mentioned this, how you had, you use Avi and everything. And this is what we've been trying to convey to people is that, if you compare Solana to ETH has the type of DeFi where you go in to get a loan, right? You go in to make a big swap or a big purchase, or maybe that you tokenize a house or something, with big money moving in chunks, because it is slow and speed is not needed for that type of transaction. Just think about when you go to buy a car, right? If you ever bought a car in your life, you go inside and you sit down, you write a contract, you sit there, you have a coffee, basically, you talk to the sales guy, they write the papers up, and you do the thing, and it takes like half an hour to an hour at least to buy a car from the moment that you sit down and do it.
So literally yesterday. So I my friend's dad, he's got some crypto. All he's got basically is Bitcoin and ETH, and he was asking about it and sort of where it's going and what he does. Total crypto noob. And I showed him. I went to Aave, logged in, just showed him an example. I went, okay, yeah, here is a deposit, here is the borrow, here you go. And I just went live, and I went, I'm just going to borrow $10. Just borrow $10. Fee was like a cent. Did it. Okay, there it is in my wallet. Here's my address. Send to crypto.com. And I go, there you go. So that, I was like, that could be $100,000. Like, there's that could be any amount of money. As long as I can afford to take out that loan, I can do it without anyone asking. And he just looked and was like
what?
There was no, like there was this entire concept, and it's like, okay, so it's like, who are you borrowing off? It's like you're borrowing off people who are
willing to lend.
Dollars. Yeah, of people who want you to pay them an 11% interest rate, which is a variable interest rate, which is dependent entirely on supply and demand. Ironically, you want the interest rate to be high, because when the interest rate's high, that means there's demand for borrowing. That means there's activity on chain. That means the price of the crypto that is probably going up.
Yeah.
So I'm quite happy holding a dollar-based loan collateralized against Bitcoin, because the interest rate, I'm hoping I never have to pay that loan off.
Yeah.
So the interest rate doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So yeah, the vast majority of that ecosystem is still on ETH.
Yeah, and exactly.
It is there. That's where it is.
And yes, and exactly. And that's what I'm trying to say here. It's like people on Twitter ask me a lot. Well, I get into discussions on Twitter. I'm sure you guys have seen that. And I try to explain to people that, look, Solana is not trying to replace ETH. It's targeting in a completely different market because it has the capacity to do it, right? Ethereum has, like I said, those big chunks of money moving around, and it doesn't have to have the speed. It is sufficient. It still needs to scale a little bit because, if they 10x the user base, the fees are going to be absolutely monumental, right? But the point is that ETH has that so much value locked on the chain that they can actually do those type of things, like taking out a big loan or tokenizing housing or whatever, or cars or whatever you want. And Solana could probably do it, but why would people do it there when the projects that are on ETH that do that type of thing are really, really good and has a lot of of value locked inside of it. So there's a lot of available liquidity. Solana has another market. Solana looks for the high throughput user, the payment systems. You go to the gas station, you buy a soda, or you buy a hot dog or whatever. It's like blip the card, get out. That's Solana's market. So you can always compare Solana to ETH and say, oh, Solana is much faster and da 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 da. And I like that narrative, but it doesn't matter because it doesn't have the value locked on chain to do what ETH is doing with their DeFi. But there's two different pieces of DeFi. It's two different monsters. And people will argue with me and say, yes, but Solana can still do what ETH does. Like technically, yes. And when it grows and becomes the size of ETH with the value locked on chain, no problem. But currently, ETH is that monster. That's just the way it is. And so I'm bullish on both, always have been. I'm not holding any ETH because I moved it all into Solana, and I'm happy I did because I did very early. And I don't know. It's for me. I hold the Solana because I believe that the price action for the investment will be much bigger, and I actually use Solana. I don't use ETH. Maybe I'll use ETH once a year to get a loan, right?
Yeah.
But that's one time, one user in 1 year. So
now I'll be popular. Maybe that's it. Maybe I am accidentally the grown up in the room. Is that I'm currently using ETH for my DeFi and Solana to do what it's currently there for, which is to trade meme coins. So yeah, horses for courses. Right now, Solana is buzzing off
memes,
speculative bullshit nonsense.
Yes.
Can anybody remember anything that was happening on the Ethereum ecosystem around 2020 that people might have been bored and aped into because they couldn't afford some sort of yacht to occupy the time they needed, some sort of club to occupy them? I don't know, but if you were that kind of person, maybe you put your money into whatever the ridiculous thing at that time was.
Oh god.
So yeah,
if you get it, you get it.
Anyway, yeah, Solana is just one cycle behind ETH. Keep saying it. It's a cycle behind. It's a cycle less mature, but it's growing and maturing faster.
Yeah, because it's I think the reason for that is because its product market fit fits a different market, and that market has much more users in it, and more, maybe not necessarily more users, but more throughput, right? More transactions going through, because going to Aave and taking a loan, that's like, maybe you do that once a month if you're a high frequency borrower on Aave. I don't know. But that same person can sit on Solana, on Jupiter, and trade the hell out of any coin they want with 30 trades in 1 minute. You can do that. You can. And that doesn't happen on ETH because it can't happen on ETH. But that's okay because that's not the market that ETH is aiming for. And I think people need to stop fighting Solana versus ETH and just say, look, you do this thing, Solana does this thing. Happy, everyone's happy. Stop fighting about it. It's just a waste of time. Just agree and help each other, get better at whatever. I'm just getting tired of the whole fighting thing. It's ridiculous. It's just a damn investment, for Christ's sake.
Exactly.
Calm down.
Exactly. Like it's quite. We're talking about a few things. So for anybody who does follow us on Twitter, go and like the tweet that I posted just before, because I talk about quite a lot of this as it comes. And in the reply, I'm like, people that are arguing about Cardano, XRP, Ethereum, this, that, like, in terms of best chain, unless you support if there's an obviously superior chain, then you're wrong for supporting another chain. If there is a subjectively superior chain, then If what your chain is doing works for you, then fine. The question is, are you actually contributing to and growing the ecosystem of which you are a holder, or are you blindly buying and holding the coins and then just spewing hopium on the internet to try and convince other people that you're right, that your decision is the correct one, and to just be validated in price action, that the market is going to magically move where you will it to? And I say XRP, Cardano, every coin is going to pump. Of course, they're going to pump. Go and look at a coin. How many are actually down on where they were 18 months ago? Very few. And if they are, they're probably utter crap. And
Cardano, what? Sorry, what?
What? Hey, what? And yeah, but but at some point they're going to catch a bid. They're going to move up because people are going to look at it and they're going to go, okay, if Ethereum's at $10,000, oh shit, Solana's at $1,000. Cardano's at 75 cents, and XRP, I don't even need to look at that. XRP's $1, right? Yeah, sure. Let's buy them now, because we know that everybody's looking at it. Everybody's sitting there waiting, going, "Are you going to pump, Cardano? Are you going to pump?" And as soon as it starts moving, they throw all their money into it.
Yeah.
So it's going to pump. Why is it going to pump? Because people have been waiting for it to pump, and they're going to buy it when it does. So,
right. Yeah.
And so all these people arguing about superior coins, eventually they all get proved right in their own way, because XRP is going to pump to a few dollars. It's going to probably make a new all-time high this cycle. And all the XRP holders are going to look and go, "I told you so. I was right this whole time, because my gains are higher than Bitcoin's gains, bottom to top." And then they're going to hold on for another year, because of course it's going to $500, and it's going to hand all of those gains back to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin will sit there and go, "You fucked up again, didn't you? You had another chance. You had yet another chance to get rid of this bag, and you blew it again. Yeah. See you in 3 years, you fucking idiot." And so that's how the altcoin cycle works.
I mean, it's kind of funny when you like the way that I approach the whole thing, when all these arguments that people have, and I really notice it with the Cardano community, is that the echo chamber is incredibly strong within most communities when it comes to like layer 1 smart contract platforms.
Yeah.
And that's the danger with the community, and that's why we want you to come into the community, but we want to challenge everything that we can, so everybody gets to think for themselves. And the best way to do that is to take a data approach, in my book at least, because I talked about this yesterday with 2 of the members in the Discord, and I said, look, if you're gonna try to find which smart contract platform you want to invest in, are you doing it first of all for maximum profit, or are you doing it because you want to find something you can use that fits you? And it's like most people say price action because they don't really use the chains that much, because maybe they're new and they don't really understand how it works and whatever, and that's all fine and dandy. You got to start somewhere. This whole
market is speculative and ridiculous still.
Yeah, but then I say, okay, so then how do you know what you want to invest in? What I have to do, you can't just look at one coin. You can't just look at Solana and say, oh, I like this, and then that's it. Okay? You can't, and this is something that I noticed that the Cardano community unfortunately does, is they do a lot of research on their own thing. They learn about the UTXO and all that, all the details of how Cardano works and all those things. And that's good that you understand exactly what it is you're into. But the problem is that then the only research they do into anything else is they read a 2-sentence thing on Twitter and they say, that fits my narrative, that's bad. And then they don't look into it further, right? So all the arguments that I keep getting from people when I ask, so how did you come to this conclusion that this is better than this, like in terms of technically, or that this chain is going to be more successful than this chain? And they have no way of answering because they haven't done the research. They don't know the differences. They only know about their own thing. That's a major problem. if you're gonna be an investor and you're gonna sit there and say, I'm gonna have to stomp a little bit on Cardano here, but or the Cardano community, their whole mantra is we take the scientific approach, right? And that's why it's moving so slow with development. And I'm like, okay, here's data, scientific approach, look at it. And they're like, no. What are you talking about? Scientific approach, but you don't do it.
No,
So
that's it. Ultimately,
last thing, real quick. If you're gonna look at buying a smart contract platform, you want to buy the best one for your investment. You have to look at the data. You have to compare all of the smart contract platform layer ones, and then make the choice according to the data. You can go through all the data and see who wins. You get 1 point to the winner and 0 to all the losers. If you win one category, you get 1 point. Then you get an unbiased, objective report on this is the best, technically. But for some people, maybe decentralization is much more important to them than transaction speed, right? So then you make weighted point systems. So you look at the different categories and you say, transaction speed for me is very important because I want to trade quick trades. I'm going to give that super important. It's a 9 out of 10 in importance. So if they win, whatever wins that category gets 9 points, right? And then you scale it down. So you get a weighted point system. And then once you go through everything and you look at the points, then you're going to see laid out in points which one is your pick from your own preference. And if you then look at that and still say that you want another one, you're just an idiot. Sorry, you are.
Yeah,
it's just that's how you do it.
Yeah, and within that, you have to take relative merits. And so I was replying to someone else on Twitter before, and it was basically talking about Pith versus Link. It was like, ha ha ha! Don't make me laugh as if Pith is no competitor. Like it's like, no, you're right, it's not. Chainlink is the market leader. It's huge. It's going to keep growing. We're very bullish on it. It also has a 20 billion or so market cap.
Mm-hmm.
And Pith has a couple of 100 mil, I think.
I think it's.
But now it's like it must be in the hundreds of millions now. And so it's simply a fact of
1.6 billion.
1.6 billion. Okay, so yeah, it's small, and not only is it small, but it's built on and specialized for a chain which is growing faster than ETH.
Yep.
And will need those services, and most importantly, hasn't hit anywhere near maximum adoption yet. It hasn't hit that phase whereby everybody's using it, and even then, when everyone uses it, most people aren't buying it to use it. Most people are buying it speculatively to buy and then to dump the tokens at a profit. That's why they're buying it, and that's why we get 90% drops, because everything pumps 500, 600, 1,000%, and then it comes down 80%, and it comes down to 2 or 3 times what it was before. That's the actual increase. Don't look at tops when you're looking at adoption. Look at bottoms. Look at how the actual bottoms are growing.
That circles back to fair value. That's exactly what we mean.
Exactly. Everything will come back to fair value, and Pith will definitely lose probably 90 or 95% during the next bear market compared to Chainlink's 60, 70%. It'll get trashed. But in the meantime, it can absolutely pull a much higher multiple, get to a point where Chainlink is at 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 billion, and Pith is worth 20, 30. And we're looking at it going, there is no way that Pith is worth half or a third of Chainlink. Out we get.
Yeah.
That's where fundamental valuation comes in. So even though we might be bullish on Chainlink and think, yeah, this is the best chain, it's going to stay the best chain, I'm still going to put my investment elsewhere because I think that's where the money is to be made.
It's funny you say that, because for me, since we were talking about looking at data and everything, like looking at and comparing things, comparing Link to Pith network, Pith is absolutely Link in everything you can measure, which is except for market cap, basically.
But let's then get back to.
Hold on. I'm coming to it. The thing is, and I think this might be what you were trying to get back to. Link is built for a market. Okay, it fosters, it connects to things that don't need to move fast. Pith is 0.1 second faster than Solana. It updates prices faster than Solana transactions are being made, which means that Python can give the real, because it's an oracle, it can give the real world data fast enough for the Solana chain, and that's why it was built there. And that means that it also can do that on every chain. Meanwhile, Chainlink updates every 10 minutes, I think. It updates prices, for example, on DeFi. That doesn't work on anywhere else than ETH. End of, right? Which means that it's extremely handicapped compared to Python. So that's why we see Python having, I think Pith has 40 blockchains that it's connected with to give real world data using Solana as the base layer. But then you have Link, who has 4 blockchains or something, or 7 maybe it was. And seeing that type of adoption of Pith compared to Link, it has nothing to do with Link being bad at what it does. It just isn't fast enough. End of. That's the conclusion that you get to when you start picking it apart and comparing them. And so a lot of these things, the high throughput stuff, and almost all of it is built on Solana. And this is why I'm bullish on Solana, and I'm bullish on a lot of the good projects on Solana, because people outside of the Solana ecosystem have no other choice, right? They will have to go and use Pith. They will have to go and use Shadow, for example, or they will have to go and use Solana for something because they can't do it on ETH. And so for me, it's like I take all that data and I put my bet on Solana because of that. And that's it. If something else comes around that does much better than Solana and starts getting adoption from Solana, people start moving out, I'm out. It's obviously better. Right? So, yes.
Yep. So, okay. The only thing that I could really add to that is that you'd have to consider, because I consider, what is the fundamental value of an oracle? Well, the fundamental value of an oracle is the value of not necessarily the value of the data, it's the value that data is used for. Yeah. What is the value generated from taking that data and performing a transaction on chain? Now, with Link being slower, steadier, but fast enough for the Ethereum blockchain, then, as you say, it perfectly services what ETH what ETH users need it to do. As long as that is continuing to do that job thoroughly, correctly, and provably so, year on year, block after block, people will carry on using it. Now, with Pith, and I think this is very similar, and you can apply it essentially to the whole Solana network, is because it can have hundreds of thousands of transactions per second, there isn't really any need to go and rapidly build all of this DeFi infrastructure and all of this Oracle infrastructure, because people don't really need it, because right now what we're doing, we're betting on meme coins. The adoption curve of Solana is behind ETH, and this is something that you have to contend with. Say ETH is the dominant chain. It's going to keep on being the dominant chain until a time that it isn't. Solana is currently used for lots and lots of very, very fast, very small value transactions. Literally, it's being used for the type of transactions that ETH can no longer be used for.
Yep.
And what the market has clearly told me is we much prefer to just set up a Phantom wallet on Solana than to bother with Polygon or Arbitrum or Optimism. we're seeing a lot of. I hear a lot of occasional noise about Base, but for starters, who genuinely wants to use Base? That like I don't want to touch that with a shitty stick.
I don't need to. I got Solana. That's my answer
Yeah,
to that.
like
Honestly, it's like
but I don't see any reason why anybody would want to use it. Never mind have to use it. But yeah, like all of these layer 2s, people are finding, yeah, it's easier to just go straight to the alternative layer 1 that does what I need it to. Now, I don't know. I haven't really. I'll be honest, I haven't researched it because I don't need to. But how sophisticated, how trustworthy are the DeFi protocols on Solana? Right now, I don't know. I need to know and trust these DeFi applications on Solana before I will move my money from where it currently is on Polygon. Because what did we see a few years ago? Rug after rug after rug after rug on DeFi protocols.
Yeah,
and so Solana, being the newer ecosystem, has less trust, fundamentally less trust, and that trust comes from time. So yeah, right now Solana is being used at what it's good for, which is speculative dog shit in a way that could never be performed on Ethereum.
Yeah,
that's its main use. Its main use is children trying to scam each other.
This is something we need to look into. I think. How many token contracts are there on Solana compared to ETH? That would be fun to look at, because the website like fun.pump or whatever, you can literally click on a button and then you have a token, and that's it.
Okay, so at this point, I'm going to say that 99% of cryptocurrencies are on Solana. I'm going to make that claim easily, because the last time I saw the number of cryptos on CoinMarketCap, it was 2 million plus. That was a few weeks ago, and it's now 2.4 million plus.
Yeah.
And I don't know why anybody would have made one of these coins on anything other than Solana. So yeah, right now I think that genuinely, of all the token contracts, 99% of all the ones that have ever existed, or at least 90%, are on Solana. And what's the actual value of that? Well, the value of each contract is rock all, and eventually Solana will pull back to what its fundamental value is. And this is where gas fees being very, very cheap is a blessing and a curse, because during a bull market, everybody's using your chain like crazy. They're buying your token, they're hoarding your token because they want to use it. But when they've been trading for a year and they've lost half of their Solana to shitcoin trading, but the other half that would normally have just been given in gas fees on Ethereum, they've barely touched. When the bear market hits, what are they going to do with the rest of their Solana? They're going to sell it, because they're not going to be speculating on shitcoins. So the actual, during the bear market, the fact that we don't need a lot of Solana to transact with is a curse, and it will mean Solana has another very horrific bear market. It also means while the bull market's happening, while you're having this insane wave of adoption, this is Metcalfe's law on steroids. This is adoption curve, and every single person who right now can currently afford, most people can afford to drop $100, $200 to buy one Solana. Most people can do that. So that's suddenly an appetite of hundreds of millions of people that can today buy one Sol. Now, it doesn't take long for that supply of Solana to run out. All that supply will reappear again when all of those people decide, oh, I don't really want Solana anymore because the price is going down and the last 84 of my meme coins have all rugged on launch.
No,
they're going to sell it, and Solana will drop. My prediction is 85%, for the reason of the continuation of Bitcoin has gone from 95% to 85% to 70%, and ETH has gone from 95% to 85%, and Solana just did 95%. So my prediction for Solana is 85% next time round.
Yeah, I'm sitting in that camp as well. But it kind of depends on what the entire market structure will look like if we have a much longer, prolonged bull run for various reasons. Then the drop might be several chunks, but then at the end of it will be pretty substantial, depending on how big the market cap is. Honestly, for me,
I honestly think that everything is going to time itself to absolute perfection again. That we have an absurd bout of money printing coming in over the next year or 2 years, and everything gets pumped to absolute high heaven, and then we are going to have, I think, a very surprisingly drawn out bear market when we have what I consider to be tech bubble collapse 2.0, and I think that's something we need to have a video on at some point in the future.
Yes. So we basically have 4 minutes left. So I wanna finish this on one fun news, and just to finish off on ETH here. I did this thing. If ETH breaks this, because we never really did this year on ETH, we need to break this all-time high, or not all-time high, but the local high. The all-time high is this white line right here, and then the fib from this to this leaves us just above there. So there's a topping range right around 5K where I think we might find some resistance later on. But that's all I can say on ETH. We're basically looking for a test of the all-time high here.
Currently, this is a range top. It's a sell until it breaks out.
Yeah. And overall, it looks like this, right? Oh God, that's old lines, but I'll leave them. That's fine. But yeah, that little box there is kind of the target where it starts to get a little bit iffy. But then we have some news to everybody who is members, or not members, but if you are a founding member on our Patreon, or if you're a strategist on our Patreon, you now have access to this. This is a previously unseen thing.
You're doing this way too early, because we keep doing this, and then the lovely, delightful people over at TradingView keep taking us down for not describing it in the right way.
So the way that I want to say this is, we haven't released this one before. This is the cycle strategy, and it is published now. And if you are a founding member on Patreon, you will have access to this. So if you were to go, and even if they take this down, and because we didn't describe it well enough, you can still have a look at it now, and see how it looks. And then if they take it down and we have to put it up again, then so be it.
I do need to give everyone access, by the way.
Yes. Okay. We'll do that right now after this. But what this is, simply put, is this is basically my brain, or my investment thesis on a in code. And Rob is smart enough to have coded it for me, and then he added some of Rob's smart brain pieces into it and made it better. And so this is what it looks like. The whole point of this is it's going to layer you in with harder buying the further down you go, or with harder buy signals the further down you go in the cycle, and then it's going to give you some buy signals on the way up, and then it's going to skip over most of the exponential move. Not all of it, but it's back here. It didn't really do it, but obviously it skipped it here. So the point is to accumulate the bear bottom range, and then it will start giving you sell signals during the peak. And that's kind of it's called this cycle strategy. So it's made to run for 4 years, and this is what we have for it, and it's looking pretty dang good so far. So have a look at it, search for it in if you should get a notification actually after this show is ended that you have access, and hopefully you can try it out for a while, or if it gets taken down. But if it doesn't get taken down, then boom, you got it. So cool. That's it. I think we're done for the day. We got 23 seconds to end this. But yes, so that was it. But we'll see you next week. But we're going to be on Discord. You guys know that. Just pop in, hang out, talk. Keep your eye on our Twitter, because now Rob is going to spam Twitter as well. So, first thing he did was write half a Bible when he got access. But it's a good one.
If you literally just said we have 23 seconds left and then let it overrun.
Oh, it's fine. It's just a couple of seconds. All right, everybody. We'll see you in Discord. Bye.
Bye.